Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Welcome to KHM Today, your weekly go-to resource for industry news and straight up fun. I am your host, Carolyn Orff, and we are not live today. We are recording so that everyone on our team and on our staff and all of our wonderful industry partners are able to spend time with their families this week. So we appreciate you tuning in. You should be watching us on our YouTube channel or listening to us, hopefully, as a podcast, perhaps while baking a pie or two. So we're grateful that you're here today. A big thank you to our show sponsor, Apple Leisure Group, our segment sponsors, Viking Cruises, Holland America, American Airlines Vacations, Southwest Vacations, United Vacations, and MSC Cruises. So we thank you for their partnership. The theme this week is simple. It is a season of Thanksgiving. So not a meal, but the action. So in the action of saying thankful, being grateful what we have earned, and for what we will achieve in the coming year. So I'd like to welcome our first guest. Tiano is the Globus Family of Brands business development manager for KHM Travel Group. And recently on her Facebook page, I was stalking her as she was challenging herself on the Camino de Santiago in northern Spain. This is otherwise called the Way of St. James, and it is a network of pilgrim ways that lead to the shrine of the Apostle of St. James the Great in the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in Galicia, Spain. So welcome, Tina. We're so happy to have you here.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. This has been one of my favorite adventures of my life, and I'm well traveled, so it's right up there. And I am so excited to share it with all of you.
Well, and when we were talking about you coming on, this just seemed to be the perfect time because the Way of St. James or the Camino is such a thoughtful experience. And I want to start by telling our viewers and our listeners that I had the opportunity to do this 10 years ago for my 10th anniversary with my husband. We did it on a bike, which presents its own set of challenges. But it was really, really amazing. And if you're not familiar with this, it can come from all over Europe, and people start in all different countries. We started in Leon and made our way across the country to Santiago. But when I saw your pictures, I was so overjoyed because not many people know about this. They don't do it because it's challenging physically and mentally. Did you find that to be the case?
Absolutely. You know, Carolyn, people do it for different reasons, as I'm sure that you've discerned from your research and from doing it yourself. And, you know, there's people that do it because they're looking for something a bit more spiritual. Then you have people that are doing it for fitness, people that are doing it just for the challenge of it. I personally did it for an opportunity to have time to just sort of regroup and to contemplate my path in life. I had just, and I'll be a little personal here, I had just gone through a breakup, and it was perfect timing because it gave me the opportunity to spend time with God, because I am a spiritual person, but also time with myself. And it was very cathartic. And everybody experiences it in a different way. I had times, I was with a group, which we'll be talking about in a little bit, a small group, one of our Cosmos tours of 16 people. And as luck would have it, or I'd like to say it's more of a blessing, that tour was full, and I was originally supposed to go in October, but it opened up and I jumped on it, and it happened to be, as I'd mentioned, perfect timing. But it gave me an opportunity to travel in a way that I didn't really get to do up until then. You know, normally when we travel now, we go to the big cities, we go to Madrid and see all the sights, or you know, you started in Lyon or Paris, and you do that. But this gave me an opportunity to kind of see the nooks and crannies of a place. I walked through fields and villages and little towns and forests. So I saw parts of Spain I would never ever have experienced or seen. And that was also very moving and touching. And it gave me time to contemplate, to be with myself, to kind of look at my life and say, okay, I'm at this spot now. Where am I headed? And it just gives you that opportunity to regroup. And it's I cannot recommend it enough as an experience for travel. It's a travel experience. It's a travel adventure.
Hmm.
It's more than sightseeing. It's sort of
Right.
sightseeing with your soul in a way.
Right. It's in a different category. As I was thinking about this conversation, it's not a vacation. It's not a trip. It's 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 a whole different. I could not figure out what the word was because it is a challenge. And I'm so glad that you said that it can take different forms for different people. When we did it, we actually signed up originally because we wanted to bike through Spain. Like we had never been there before. And we as well were on a small group. It was with a different company based out of Fort Collins, Colorado, where I live. And so many people on this tour were very athletic, and so they were biking at the speed of lightning. And my husband and I were always the last ones to show up at the end of the day and for
Mhm.
dinner. And we became known as the couple that stopped and picked up every pebble and stone because literally we would run in, shower, and get to dinner. And I finally looked at this gentleman one day. And now at the time, 10 years ago, I think I had a 7 and a 4-year-old. Yes, 7 and a 4-year-old. And I looked at him and I said, I know you're just kidding, but it kind of took us a lot to get here. We have young kids at home, so to leave them for 2 weeks to go to Spain is a lot. And I said, so we're really here to see Spain on a bike, not bike through Spain. And
Mhm.
that was the difference. It's you have to spend that time and really think. And especially on a bike, you're walking past. And I don't know if you saw this. It could be masses of people, youth groups, older folks, younger folks, people by themselves, people with a group, stuff on their back, some with none on their back, some with bloody knees. I mean, there's a physical element to this that's very, very grueling.
Very much so. I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm a pretty fit person. I run, I walk every day. But the first day out, we walked 18 miles. So my Fitbit was going crazy. It was like, what are you doing? Because I walked, I think, 42,000 steps that day. And a lot of it was uphill.
Mhm.
We walked through forests, we walked up hills and mountains, we followed a path. But physically, you have to be not only physically prepared, but mentally prepared too. At the end of that day, when we got into town, because you walk from town to town, we stayed in small towns along the way. I was like, what did I sign up for? Can I do this again? But the interesting part is, as I went on, I became more acclimated to it. And that physicality kind of took a back seat to the mental growth that I was experiencing.
Mhm.
So it became a different focus. And I love that you said that, you did it by bike. I saw people doing it by horseback. You can do it by
Yes. Yep.
horseback. There were people that were running. I was not one of those, but there were people that were walking. And there were two ladies on my tour. One was 85, one was in her late 70s, and they both did it. They were fit. They were hikers. They had all the equipment. When I saw them, I thought, oh, because they had the camelbacks with the water, they had the walking sticks and everything, and they finished it.
Yeah.
And that was an inspiration too, because it made me realize that you're never too old to live the life of your dreams. I mean, this woman was 85 and she walked almost 100 miles section of the Camino uphill, a lot of it.
Mhm.
So yeah, but it is, as you mentioned before, it is physically daunting. It truly is. So you do have to be, try and get in shape. You have to walk a little bit. You have to exercise a little bit. It's not a first timer's trek through the forest, so to
Right,
speak.
right. Did you recognize something in yourself that maybe you didn't realize was there before?
I thought about that, and I did. It's not. I don't know that it was something that I hadn't realized before, but I think it brought it to the forefront. And that is, we all experience loss in our life. We experience heartache, deaths, just disappointment in life. But how you react to them is what defines you, not that it happened to you. And it's always your choice. So when these things happen, you can choose to become bitter or you can choose to become better.
Hmm.
And that control is always with you. And that's one thing I realized as I was walking. I'm thinking, I can choose to let this define me as a better person, what had just happened to me. And it did. I chose, instead of becoming angry and bitter, and closing up, I decided to become more loving, more forgiving, more kind, a kinder person. So I came out of that experience better. And it's having that uninterrupted time with no cell phones,
Right.
no, distractions, and thinking, just being with yourself and your creator and thinking. I mean, granted, you do talk to people as you go, and that's part of the experience I'm sure you had as
Yes.
well. You meet people from all over the world and you talk to them, and that's part of the fun of it too, because you find out why they're there and why they're going. You stop in little tavernas and you might have a Spanish beer, or you might have some tapas. Um, that's all part of the experience. But having that time alone with yourself to really think and to observe and to contemplate is priceless in our
Hmm.
society today.
Hmm.
With as much as we have coming at us all the time, all this, phones and computers and, social media and television, it's like it's nice to just have that silence.
Yes. And Tina, I don't know that I appreciated silence until the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I was always a person that ran at 100 miles an hour. If you asked me what kind of exercise I wanted to do, it was, you know, thumping in a room, soul cycle with, the walls vibrating and, the lights, going back and forth like you were almost at a nightclub. And in the last 2 years, that has really changed to something that's a little bit more quiet, yoga, Pilates, and I still do that other stuff. But I was always afraid of almost like being with my own thoughts. And in the pandemic, like you almost didn't have a choice. You really had to be aware and conscientious of what was going through your brain. So the Camino is one of those places where you almost feel like there's acceptance to feel free
Mm-hmm.
and to just let it all go. And there's deep breaths that are taken, there are tears that are shed, there's angry moments, there's despair in all of that. But at the end of the day, to walk away, I don't there's just something very well, it's just inspiring. And at the end of the day, you almost feel like a new person
Mm-hmm.
once you've
Yeah,
completed it.
you're absolutely right. Like in our society today, pre-pandemic, everything was, achieve, 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 faster, faster, go, go. What can I do? What can I do? How can I be better? And this sort of stops all of that because it has absolutely nothing to do with that. And the experiences that you have along the way, not only with internally with yourself, but the people that you meet. I met these two elderly gentlemen. I was going through a chestnut tree forest,
Oh my
which was
gosh.
stunning, by the way, because they were, 50, 60 feet tall. There was a path through. They were two elderly Spanish men, but they spoke enough English, and I have some rudimentary Spanish skills. And they were telling me that they were going to pick chestnuts for their grandkids and that they were taking them back because their grandkids only wanted chestnuts. They said, we can go to the store and buy them, but they want the ones, that they can pick off the trees. So we had this conversation. So here's somebody from a completely different culture, a completely different time of life. They were both retired. And yet we connected. And when you connect with people like that, you begin to realize that it's really not our differences that separate us. It's
Hmm.
our inability to see how much we are alike. And we had a common moment and it was inspiring. And that's why I travel. And I think deep down, that's why a lot of people travel. They just don't realize it sometimes.
Hmm. Well, we do, before I let you go, we do want to just give a shout out. You do have this tour operated with Cosmos. I had no
Yes.
idea that was the case until you hashtagged it.
Yes.
Typically, these are done so independently. I know our youth group at church does this every year, and they get up and at 3 o'clock in the morning and start walking, and then they're at their destination usually by 11 a.m. and they're getting into youth hostels. But Cosmos has a little bit of a different program where it's a little more structured.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciated it because I know of what you speak and some of the places my youth hostel days are long behind me. I don't really want to share a room with 20 people and a bathroom
Nope.
with 20 people. So with Cosmos, what's nice is we still started early. We'd start at dawn, like maybe 6 or 7 a.m. And we'd usually get into the town about 5 o'clock. But what's nice about it is your hotels are pre-booked. And we use really quaint hotels, but you have your own room, and they have all the amenities. But we use like manor houses and guest houses, so they have the feel of the culture itself. But those are all pre-booked. Your luggage is taken from place to place. You don't have to worry about carrying a huge backpack. I had a little backpack with just, water and some snacks kind of thing. But it's all planned out for you. And you do have a walking guide, and she kind of goes between the people, because we had one group that was like you were saying, they were like speed walkers, and their goal was to get to the next town as fast as possible. I wanted to stop. I want to take pictures. I want to talk to people. So I was kind of back in the back with the 85-year-old lady in the in the late 70s. So, but I wanted to be able to stop and talk and experience and see the landscape. So, but we had a guy that walked with us in case you had an emergency or something like that. But it's all done for you. So your meals are arranged too. Our breakfast every day, we had a full breakfast, and at night our dinners. And what I loved about it is our dinners weren't at like typical, like a hotel dinner. They take us into little restaurants in town. So I had some of the best Spanish food. I was in seafood heaven. I'm a seafood lover, and northern Spain is known for its seafood. And wine was included too, as much red or white wine as you wanted. Because let me tell you, and you probably know this, when you get to the town at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, the last thing you want to be doing after walking 18 miles is schlepping around trying to find somewhere to eat.
Yes.
So it's kind of nice to be able to just be taken. So I think it took the stress out of that experience, so you could concentrate on your personal Camino experience and not think about where am I staying, where am I eating, all that kind of thing.
Now, when you did get to Compostela, were you able to get the certificate saying you completed it?
I did. I should show it to you. Yes, because we did. You have to do, I think, 62 miles in order to get the certificate. We did just short of 100 miles. So I got my certificate, and then I got this beautiful. I have to show you this. This beautiful seashell necklace. Yes. Yes, which is the symbol of the Camino, as you know. But yes, I did get my certificate, so that was also, and I got to go to mass in the church there, which was stunning. That
Amazing.
cathedral is beautiful.
Did the big
The incense, yes. That has to be seen. You cannot explain that to someone verbally. It's amazing to see.
So we had that opportunity, and for those of you that don't know, the church is massive, and there is I don't even know how to describe. I can't remember the name of it, but it swings back and forth, and it's filled with incense. And it's not just a little thing, right, that you might see at Sunday Mass. This is enormous.
Yeah, I think they said it weighed like
over
200 pounds or something like that, and they swing it back and forth. And to see that is like,
and it only happens if someone donates to have it happen. So it's not like it happens at every pilgrim mass. And it's really it's pretty incredible. And what's really neat, and I'm sure you experience this, is outside of the church, you see people taking pictures, and and that's when you really get the scope, because you see people that are, I mean, they're just destroyed. They've fallen, or their feet are blistered, or whatever. And that's when you really see the impact of the physicality of this trip. One more thing I just want to ask you about before we go. Along the way, and you said you stopped at different places, there is a passport book that gets stamped by different places. And I have mine for years, 10 years. I've said I'm going to go get it framed. I am going to do this because it is something we pull out fairly frequently to show people. And that was a really fun part of the trip, to be able to go from place to place, either a shop or a church, or a restaurant that would have a beautiful stamp that said you were there.
And even the tiniest places. There was a place in the middle of the forest. There was a gentleman. He was playing music. He was like a busker, and he had a stamp. So in these tiny little churches, that there was still somebody inside that would stamp your passport. So your goal was to get at least 2 a day, but we often got many more, because we we made a lot of stops because you want to see, and experience the countryside. But to have that book, you're right. You can look back and say, okay, on this day I was in Saria, or this day I was in Finisterre. So it's just an amazing thing to be able to have that as a memento of my walk.
Yes. Well, I'm so grateful that we were able to have you on. I could talk about this for days
I know,
because
me
it
too.
truly was. And I love the fact that I now know that there is a land option that has a little more structure because, like you, my backpacking days and my youth hostel days are over. But I would do this again because I think it's an important thing to do um, for whatever reason that
No,
someone would want to do it.
absolutely. It's almost something maybe you should do periodically, just
Yeah,
to kind of cleanse your mind. And I will say, just as a little plug for the company that I do work for, Globus Family of Brands, the Cosmos brand, which is what this is, it's part of our Cosmos escorted touring, can be booked by any travel agent. All the KHM agents are able to book it. So it's very easy, it's simple, and it was so worth it to be able to do it that way, I think.
awesome. Tina, thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Oh
Thanksgiving.
my gosh,
Enjoy
you
the
as
holiday
well.
season, and we will hopefully have you back on the show at another time.
I would absolutely love it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Oh, you guys, I could talk about that for days. It truly is inspiring. It's fun in a different way, but it really is wonderful. Here to share his message of thanks is KHM CEO and President Rick Zimmerman. Rick, welcome to KHM today.
Well, thank you. How are you, Carolyn?
I'm great. I'm so thankful to be with everyone this week. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we're not live so that everyone can spend time with their family and friends. What are you grateful for this year?
Well, I'm grateful to be traveling again. Uh, it's kind of exciting. I was just in Europe, and then down in Fort Lauderdale on the Odyssey of the Seas, and I got to meet you and your husband. So that was wonderful, and the great agents we had on that trip with us. Of course, Kathy Killen was there with us, and then I came home for a day and I flew over to LA to get on the Navigator of the Seas. And we had over 100 people on that trip. So 50 some agents and their plus ones. And it was great. So I was grateful that I could walk around 2 dining room areas and talk to all the people that we had on that trip. I was we had dinner at 6, and both nights I didn't eat until after 8 because I had the opportunity to talk to everybody. So it was really a great time. So that's really what I'm thankful for.
It has been such an emotional year, challenging at certain times, but I feel like being part of the KHM family, I've had the opportunity to watch this incredible perseverance and determination by not only the agents that we have, but also the staff and everyone in Cleveland, just that teamwork spirit of we're going to do this and get through this, and we're going to be creative and inspirational and nose to the grindstone. It's really astounding on most days to watch how people have made their way through all of this.
Yeah, I agree with you on all those points. And from the beginning, just really taking the bull by the horns, right? I mean, we started strategic planning meetings, and education was a lot of what we talked about in those meetings. So we didn't just sit and say, "Oh my God, what's going to happen next?" It was really what can we do to take advantage of this situation that is hopefully never going to come up again in another 100 years, but to really make something happen instead of just sitting and watching what was going to happen. And
Yep.
and we have such a great team, and they just took to it. immediately. And you're part of that, Carolyn. Thank you for doing what you do too.
It has been an absolute gift. It truly has. It's a reason to get up in the morning. It's a joy. I love speaking with the agents, and like you, to be able to finally meet some of them in person on the Odyssey and then at ASTA and at KTA. I mean, it really, it's a reason to get up in the morning. Not that that's my only reason to get up in the morning, but to really love what you do, I think it's a gift. It absolutely is a gift, because I don't know that everyone does love their job pretty
Yeah,
much every day.
yeah,
Well, we have been making a grateful garland all month with our guests that have come on, and we've had some amazing people on this month. So I wanted to share with you a few of the ones that people have shared with us. So the question was simple each week to every guest that was on the show: what are you grateful for? And so Joanne Chicatino from our groups department, she said the talent of the KHM family, which I thought was so true. Jennifer Suarez from Celebrity Cruise Lines, who you remember from KTA, she came on and she said she's grateful for third grade teachers because that is her child and her daughter is back in school and she couldn't be more grateful for it. Wanda from the education team, my perception and objectivity about life. How true is that this year?
yep.
And the last year before that. One of our favorites, Dee Gilmore, that we just had the chance to spend time with, she said, and this is probably going to bring a tear to everyone's eye, thankful to be Pauline's daughter. She lost her mom recently, and she was thankful to just have that time with her. And, we know that so many people lost loved ones in the last 2 years. So to be thankful to be that person to share life with, I thought was really special. And Carolyn Sikarik, part of our team as well. Opportunities to celebrate. And I think more than anything, if I've learned something about KHM, there is always an opportunity to celebrate. And that's the positiveness of everyone on the team. There is always a reason to celebrate.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then Keith, of course, behind me says he's happy for Jack Daniels. Way to go, Keith. No,
Is
not
that
all
a?
of them were serious. Not all of them were serious, but it has been such a fun treat to see all of those each week and hear what everyone has to say. And of course the opportunity to travel is a big one as well.
Yes, it sure is. Well, that was great. Thank you for sharing that with me. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're very welcome. And we appreciate you. And we're so thankful and grateful for your leadership and your partnership in all that we do. And please enjoy a wonderful Thanksgiving season and gear up for the holidays.
Yep, that's right. I'm here in Southern California, just off of the Navigator, and I get some time to spend with my family here in Southern California. So I'm excited
Wonderful.
about that. But happy Thanksgiving to you, Carolyn, and to yours, and to all the KHM family as well.
Thank you, Rick. It's time to go make some stuffing and some pies.
There you go. Enjoy that.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks.